Hi there everyone, this is Steve here, Steve Klebrowski, with another video, and this is going to be a Google Plus video just because I figure I'd do something this way. This is going to be a movie review, and went to the movie theaters today for the first time since 2007. Yeah, believe me or not, not really a big huge fan that much of going to the movies that much. But for this one today, I had to go just because for a specific movie that came out today that I was pretty much looking forward to. But with the way this movie went, it was not what I expected. It really was not. So anyway, this particular movie is going to be a review about Dumb and Dumber 2, the sequel to the movie from 1994, Dumb and Dumber, starring Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. Same cast. Well, even though you don't have like Lauren Holly in it from the first one and a couple of the other people as well, but you do have one returning person that was in this movie. Now let's go back to the first one, Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber is about these two guys, Harry and Lloyd. Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn, that's their names, played by Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. And they're guys that are just pretty much like trying to open up this little place called they're going to call it like I Got Worms. Like they're going to open up their own worm store and all that. So this woman named Mary Swanson winds up leaving her briefcase at the airport, believing that it was belonged to her or something like that. And so Lloyd decides to return it to her. She is in Aspen, Colorado, and they're all the way in like Rhode Island, somewhere wherever they are, and they decide to go all the way through town and go all the way there and bring it back to her. There's a lot of funny scenes in the first one, like the one particular scene that I absolutely think is hilarious is when Harry winds up drinking this tea that has like a thing in it which is called Turbo Lax, which is a laxative for people, that have a hard time going to the bathroom. So Lloyd just pretty much puts it in his drink and almost just puts it in there like all the way. And he just winds up having a, a serious attack of diarrhea and just or whatever and just goes into the bathroom of Mary Swanson's house and just is just completely going crazy because the way that it's sounded, but it's just so hilarious the way they made it. But it really was. But in this one, they didn't have a scene like that. But I will get into detail in just a second. I'm just like going into like detail of the first one. So let's just move on to this one. Now on Jimmy Fallon, I saw these two, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, both on there talking about the new Dumb and Dumber 2. And I saw a picture on Facebook as well of them, and they looked really good. It was good to see them doing this again, and I'm like, this is a really good idea. This movie could be better than that horrible failed attempt that they did, Dumb and Dumberer, when Harry met Lloyd, which absolutely is the worst sequel to a movie that they ever made. Absolute worst, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, excuse me, let me just read that. So, in my opinion, I was really looking forward to this movie. I really was. And when I saw him on Jimmy Fallon, and they look good and stuff, and then they show the trailer to the movie, and I'm looking at it, and they show this one scene in there, and it just completely left Jimmy Fallon and the rest of the people on the Jimmy Fallon show just looking like, or the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, just looking like, with their faces like that, just, and some of them in disgust, kind of like, oh, yeah. So I kind of had a feeling that the way that this looked, I was just going like, oh, this is not going to be good. So here's what happened. Now we just get into the movie. Now, as I said, I went today to go see it just because, I'm a huge fan of Dumb and Dumber, and I had to see this because it's Jim Carrey for one. He's one of my favorite actors, and Jeff Daniels as well. But you don't have any of the people from the other one. So here's how the story is, pretty much. uh, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels reprise their roles, and the film begins with Harry visiting someone in this nursing home, something like that, and it winds up being Lloyd with a with long hair and a beard as well, and he's just like in a shock, just looking like, well, not like the way I did it, but just the way he's looking, and he's just like Mary Samsonite, as they're calling her, Swanson for real, was just a girl and all that, but he's like still like not over her and all that, because when we last left Dumb and Dumber in 1994, they were they had a chance to like go with these girls on a bus to like this bikini thing, this lucky chance, but they wound up passing that up. Then the movie ends and they're just walking back like all the way back to Rhode Island or wherever, and just saying, going, you're it. You're at Quincy's, any Quincy's. No Quincy, no chances. You can't do that, Ken, too. Can't you double stamp it? Cannot triple stamp it. No erasers. Touch blue, make it true. Ah la la, ah la la la. I remember a lot of the lines from the first movie, so yeah, but there's really nothing much of that in the new one. It didn't have any of that stuff, but it did have one. It did have that one where Lloyd says, "I'm sorry," where Lloyd says, "Want to hear the second most annoying sound in the world?" And he's ringing somebody's doorbell and stuff, and he keeps on ringing it, and Harry is just like, "Yeah, that's pretty annoying." And then a woman comes to the door and is like, "What are you doing ringing my doorbell this late at night?" And Lloyd's just like, "That's the most annoying world sound or that noise," but I don't think so. I mean, well, he just said the second most. But anyway, now back to the beginning of the movie. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. So he just is visiting Lloyd, and he just winds up, playing a joke on him, and just says, "Gotcha." He was like faking for 20 years and all that, and Harry is this, he's cool with it and stuff. So now they're like going to get things back together and get Lloyd home, but he winds up like having this thing on him that's like attached to his a personal area. So Harry just winds up pulling it and pulls him right off of it, and I'm like, oh god. And that starts off with the song that they played in the first one. It's Boom Shakalot by Apache. And Boom Shakalot, doing people that want. Yeah. They're playing a little bit of that. Then they get off a bus, and now they're home. And the first thing they see is Billy the blind kid. Remember from the first movie, Billy in 4C, they call him the blind kid when they gave him a parakeet, a Petey, that belonged to Harry, and he's just petting the bird, going, "Pretty bird." Yeah, can you say pretty bird? Yeah. But the bird had no head. So later in the movie, he winds up finding out that he was duped, because it was really from Lloyd, but and he just says, "I just thought he was so quiet." Yeah. Now in the new movie, he winds up like having this big, huge cockatoo or whatever, this bird, and he's like on his shoulder, and he's talking to him and stuff, and he's got these rare birds around him and stuff. Yeah, and Lloyd like winds up trying to feed him like one of these little things, these foods or whatever, and he says that they can't have them, it's like their stomachs will explode or something. So they just go into their place and they just wind up scaring him like yeah, it was kind of funny, that scene. Now they're in the place and there's a cat in there, and he says to Harry, "Who's this?" "Oh, that's Butthole. I found him out in the alley." So he's like, "Why'd you name him Butthole?" Picks up the cat, puts him on his shoulder, and just lifts up his tail and says, "Because of this." And he's got a big, huge hole in his butthole. This says, "Good name, totally fits." But I saw that in the trailer when they did that, and yeah, we knew that scene was coming and stuff. But anyway, then the cat like goes into this room, and Harry's got a roommate in there, and he's like, "Well, somebody had to get somebody to pay for your rent or whatever." So then the cat goes in there, and this guy, I don't even know what this guy was doing, but he just had like this stuff in there, and the cat like takes a lick of it, and then the cat is like hanging on a chandelier, like woo, woo, woo. Yeah, absolutely weird that was, but kind of funny, I guess. Now, Harry and Lloyd wind up going to Harry's parents' place, and Harry's parents in this are Asian, and I'm just like, what? Because well, before they got there, they got on this little bicycle, and Lloyd's in front like this, and he is driving the thing at well, bicycling, and Harry's in the back, and he's just going like that, and well, yeah, that was kind of strange as well, but just the way that was, and then it's just right down the street, it's not, it's just a little walk. Instead, they just take the bike. So anyway, Harry's parents in there just wind up like having like his mail or stuff like from 20 years ago and stuff, and he winds up finding a letter in there from an old girlfriend of hers named Freda Felcher, mentioned in the first movie, where they're in the hot tub, and he's like saying to Harry, "What's the matter, Harry? Some little filly break your heart?" No, it was a girl, Freda Felcher, and Lloyd obviously knows her from Cranston. He calls her. hmm So she winds up saying that she is pregnant and stuff, and wants him to give her a call. So Freda Felcher is working like in a funeral home, and it was like over 20 years ago when she had the daughter, and um, the it's when they meet Freda Felcher, she is played by Kathleen Turner, and I knew who she was. I just don't not really familiar with her that much. So um, she winds up saying that she gave up her daughter for adoption, and um, they just fit to say like that they'll go track her down and all that. But let me see here. They wind up getting like another address, and they knock on the door, and it winds up being Freda Felcher again. And Lloyd says one of the words from the other movie. He says, "Suck me sideways." That was funny, but that just sounds like a splitting image or whatever. But it was just her again. So this is the return address or whatever. So the place was like in Maryland. They said. I don't really know if they really came to Maryland, but I don't know. But that's where they went, and they come into this big, huge place, and that's where she lives. But she's leaving like to go to this conference, and her name is Penny, and her dad is there. And another scene, when they try to call on her cell phone, and Lloyd winds up answering. He's like, "Whoever this is, we're in the excuse me, whoever this is, we're in a very important conversation here." He's like, "This is your dad." Yeah. Excuse me, guys. I gotta take this. It's my dad. She's got me on hold. Yeah. And yeah, that was just another thing from the trailer as well, and another scene. Then what else happened? So now they're like going through the country, these states again. Now they think they're going to El Paso, Texas, I think. And this movie, by the way, was about an hour and 20 minutes long. Maybe it was 112 minutes total, or 120 something. So it was about maybe not that much, maybe about an hour and uh, maybe about an hour and 20 minutes, or an hour and 10 minutes, maybe the movie was. It wasn't really that long or anything, but I will get into the rest of it. Now, here's another funny scene. This guy that they have in there, I don't even have thing up. I should get the cast up so I can do this a little bit better, because anyway. But I also should say that before we go into the rest, that Harry, said to Lloyd that he needs a kidney transplant and stuff, and someone like needs to like give him a kidney or something like that. So that's pretty much the thing. Now, this guy that they wind up taking with them, I'm trying to get his name up, as I don't know why. I'm just not getting this right. Anyway, yeah, it was 110 minutes, so that's pretty much like an hour and 40 minutes, or almost like 2 hours. I don't know, but again, it wasn't really long, like I said. Uh, let's see here. This person, his name was Rob Riggle, plays a guy named Travis, who is a guy working in this place, and he's like cutting their lawn and stuff, and they wind up taking him with them as they have like this gift and stuff that's in a box, and the guy that's the father of the girl Penny, it just says it's like pretty valuable or something like that. So he winds up going with Harry and Lloyd, and he's in this car that they're in, and Harry and Lloyd are saying like to play a game, which is kind of a fart game that they say. Yeah, this is pretty funny. It's like if you fart or whatever, and you can't smell your own fart and all that, and whoever smelt it dealt it and all that stuff. So he just winds up like not wanting to play or something. So he just says, "I want to be king of this car," and like what to say and stuff. So I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 3. The one who guess it right or whatever gets to be king of the car or whatever. So Lloyd says 1, Harry says 3, and they're just he's just looking at him, like, are these guys really this dumb or whatever? So they're like, what's the answer? And he's just like, it's 2. And they're like, oh. So he's like king of the car now, and he's like, like telling them what to do. And Harry says, well, whatever he said, and like princess or something, will you go back there and get me a Slim Jim? So he does, and while he does, Harry and Lloyd both from behind put their butts right in front of him while Harry's butt crack is sticking out, and Lloyd just has his pants just the way it is, and they both fart in his face, and you just hear it going, and and then they pull up this window so it stays that way, and they just leave him with the smell in there. He's just going like, God, it smells, and that was hilarious. That was a funny scene in that one. I gotta say that one really was, and yeah, yeah, that was a funny scene. Now, for the rest of this movie, now as they do eventually get to Texas for this like little thing that's going on, but there was just like a lot of some you know disappointing humor and stuff, and stuff that was not funny. Like Harry winds up like taking a name for being mistaken for a doctor. And earlier he says in there that he has to pinch a loaf, and you know what that means. And if you don't, look it up. So the guy is looking around for this doctor, and he hears a name, and he says, "Doctor Pinchloaf," and he's talking to Harry, and I'm just like, "Oh God, these names and stuff." But then it eventually got this one. Pretty much was probably the worst scene of the movie because while Harry is there at this little science thing, or whatever, and they have these things on him, and they're like going to read what his head is doing, like his childhood memories and all this. Then we're going back to the like 80s or every year it may have been like early 80s, and he's eating peanut butter, and he just winds up taking like this in this cup, and then has it on a knife, and winds up eventually, well, they don't show it, but it is winds up putting it on his personal area. Yeah. Uh-huh. And while he does that, then this dog comes in, and he tells the dog to shut the door and stuff, and that's when the dog starts, yeah, doing licking the stuff off of him. Ugh. That was the worst scene in the movie, and I still get chills just thinking about it because that was probably the worst scene in my opinion. But yeah. Anyway, and Lloyd is one. Excuse me, is winds up getting kicked out of this thing because he's not on the list and stuff. So Harry just says to him, "Well, I'm gonna stay here and see my daughter, or whatever," because and just says like he wants to be with her and stuff because and he just says, "I think that she can be better than you." Yeah, and that's when he leaves, and he winds up meeting Harry's daughter Penny, and he gets like a call on his cell phone from her, and he meets her at a fountain, and he immediately likes her because of the way her humor is, because her humor is just like Harry and Lloyd, like the way the stuff they do. Like uh, Lloyd pushed Harry into a bush and stuff, and she winds up pushing Lloyd into a bush, and he's just amazed and just says, "I love you," because the way that her humor is. Yeah, but she is a pretty cute girl. The girl who plays her, I can't really exactly remember it. I'll just look it up. Uh, yeah, her name is Rachel Melvin, who plays her, and she's only 29. So that's just in case you're wondering what her name is. So he just winds up taking her to this place to eat, and Lloyd has a flashback and stuff of when he may have had like sex or whatever with Freda Felcher, and he believes that he is the father. So that's pretty much what's going on. And now we just get to like the near the end, and let's see. I'm trying to think like what happened exactly. Well, later on, like they're in this bathroom and they got a hold up going with all these guns and stuff, and it's Harry and Freda Felcher and the girl Penny, and Lloyd is not there, but he winds up coming in later, and he's all groggy and stuff, just the way he is, because now he finds out that um, like Harry can't like donate his kidney or something like that, but instead Lloyd winds up taking his kidney out and doing it instead. But that's when the cops also arrive as well, and they arrest like the people as well. And the thing in the box that that I mentioned said that it was like a valuable thing or something. It really was not. Believe it or not, it was cupcakes in it. It was, yeah. Big disappointment, that it was that in there, and I just really couldn't believe that. But after that, well, Harry winds up getting shot, like in his shoulder, but then they take him to the hospital, and uh, he just winds up saying to Lloyd while he's in there, and just he winds up saying to Lloyd, "Gotcha!" And he's just like, "What?" The whole time, Harry didn't need a kidney transplant. Yeah, the whole entire time. When he said in the beginning that he needed a kidney transplant, he was kidding. Hard to believe, but yeah, the whole thing was a joke. So then, after that, um, well, Lloyd went up like donating like getting rid of all of his kidneys, but eventually he's fine and stuff. And now we just get to the next day, and they're out of the hospital, and then we find out that Harry and Lloyd, neither one of them are the father of Penny. So they wind up finding out that this friend of theirs that passed away in a motorcycle accident, who they called Pea Stain, I forgot his name in the movie, but he winds up just being the father of them, and she meets the grandparents because they had an encounter with them earlier in the movie, and their friend is the father of her, but yeah, and she just goes with the grandparents, and I'm just like, you're kidding me. Unbelievable. So they leave, and so is Freda Felcher as well, and she's just like saying to them about the thing about sex and stuff, like how to have sex and all this crap, and uh, they're saying like doing like a fingering or another thing as well, but she just whispers in them like the proper way, whatever, have sex and all that, and they're just like in disbelief, going like, "Oh God, that's where my mom pees." Yeah, more gross humor and stuff. There was a lot of gross humor in this. I mean, just a lot, and just these jokes and stuff. It was just, I was just going to myself like, "Oh God." Uh huh. And so they wind up leaving, and Harry and Lloyd are just walking by themselves, like they did in the last movie. But then they wind up seeing these two girls, a blonde and like a brunette, I think, or a brown hair girl. I don't think she was a brunette. Well, brown hair girl, whatever. Anyway, they're just walking towards them, and they're like, well, this is our chance now. So they walk up to the two girls, and what happens? They push both of the girls into the bushes, like what they do themselves when they push each other into a bush. And they just, whatever they said to them, their word they say, and the girls are just looking in disbelief, like, something they were obviously not expecting. And so they just run off and they give each other a high five and just keep running away. And that's the end of the movie. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you want like my honest opinion of this movie, like what I honestly thought of it and stuff, this movie was disappointing. It really was. I was looking forward to this. I know that it was not going to be as good as the original, and is it good as the original? Hell no. Is it better than Dumb and Dumberer when Harry met Lloyd? Yes. Any movie would be better than that crap. But this movie just absolutely, like I said again, these two just tried too hard. They tried to make it as funny as the first one, but the only scene that was funny, like I said, was when they farted in this car they were in, and the guy that just is trapped in the back there. That's basically it. hmm But like I said, it was a disappointment. It really was. But if any of you, have like a different opinion of this and stuff, if you think it was funny or whatever, well, that's your opinion. But I'm telling you, it was not good. You had another scene as well, like back in the first one, where Lloyd is having this fight with this guy where he's dreaming about Mary, and this is where he's at a dance and stuff with the girl, and um, he's just like having a brawl with these guys and stuff, and that's basically it. Yeah, and not as funny as the first one where he has that fight with the other guy, and just all the humor in this was just absolutely bad. Just everything that they said, like the jokes are not funny and stuff. Well, some of them were, but some of them were just beyond gross. But after I just got done seeing this movie, finally, I just said on Facebook and stuff, I was just like, oh, this movie was absolutely dumb. I was going to say dumb in a good way, if it would have been good, but it really, it really did not. It really was not all that great. So, for my advice to people, if you want to see this movie, if you want to see it and stuff, if you like Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, stick with the original though. That's just my opinion. But for this one too, I'm just saying there are some funny scenes, but if you probably will be a little bit disappointed. Yeah. But yeah, that is just what I wanted to do. I wanted to give like my opinion of this movie. I do movie reviews sometimes, but because this was a new movie and one of my friends actually does these, his name is Austin Putnam, and he does movie reviews of new movies and stuff. But yeah, but like I said again, it just really was disappointing. They tried too hard, and hope, you know, if they could possibly make a third one, which could be a possibility, you never know. But I don't know. I don't really know. It will never compare to the original. That's all I'm just gonna say. But it was good to to see it. Because yeah. But that'll do it for this movie review of Dumb and Dumber 2. But if you have seen this movie, you're free to tell me like what you thought of it and stuff. But I was disappointed. But thanks again for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, please, and I'll see you all with more videos. You all take care.